Hi there, I'm Ry, a technician at 4x4 AT here in Leeming Bar. Today we're going to do an instruction video on how to fit a light pod to our 2023 Ranger Wildtrak. And these are the parts that you're going to need. So we're going to have an impact driver, our drill, some drill bits, a deburrer, an 8, a 7 and a 10mm socket, trim tool, a knife, a little bit of paint, tie wrap gun, you could use flush cuts, wire cutters, a pick, soldering iron, solder, a heat gun or blowtorch, a little bit of heat shrink, electrical tape, some wire strippers, a torch, a tape measure, 2-inch and 1-inch tape, some brake cleaner and some glass cleaner, some gloves because we're dealing with sticker flex, so you don't want to get that all over your hands ideally. We've got some microfibers and some blue roll to clean up. This is a parcel that you are going to receive. Now it's imperative that you check for damage before signing for the package. We need to make sure there's no damage to the box and it's all intact. For you see our box, so we'll now open that and we'll get cracking. So in your box you're going to have your light pod, a wiring loom and some sticker flex. We're going to keep this because we're going to use this later on inside the car, so just pop that aside for now. So we have our light pod. Now we're going to unpack that. Make sure when we unpack it that you do it, if you're going to use a knife, make sure that the part is upside down. If you use a knife on the other side, you're just going to scratch the paint. So make sure that it is upside down. So once we have our box opened, we're just going to check the contents, which is our light pod, 2 Y pieces, a wiring loom and sticker flex. So we're now going to install our Y pieces onto our light pod. This is the first thing we want to do. We're going to sticker flex these in as well, and doing this first will allow them plenty of time to dry before we actually fit the pod. So the Y pieces, 2 of your lights are going to go plug into this side, and our loom, when we fit it, is going to plug into this. Ordinarily I would try and keep the end of this plug pretty much in line with this V here, same on the other side. That one's going to go in that direction as well, so we'll do that now. Push that under there. So we're going to sticker flex in these 2 connections, these 2 here and these here. Vibrations from the car, if we don't do that, will cause the wiring to bang on the roof. Very annoying. So sticker flexing that down, we're going to stop that from happening. So we'll go do that now. We'll get your sealant in between there, and then we'll move over to the other one. So we bonded our parts in now, our connections, so for now we can pop this aside. We're not going to use this for now for a while. We're going to move on to the car and start the wiring. So inside the car now, we're going to start by removing the interior roof panel trim using our trim tool, and then we're going to use a pick. So if you get this panel down back side first, trim tool, and you're just going to lever it forward and slowly move towards the front. so, and this will fold down. Once that's folded down, we have 3 plugs in here that we need to unplug. So our 3 connections, one for the Bluetooth, for the speaker for the phone, then we have our SOS button and interior lighting. This one does have a little bit of glue on it, so if you pop this tab out using our pick, that will slide out like that. Then we'll just unclip that one. Now our SOS button, and click that, and now our last one at the top, click that. Now just pop that on top of the dash, out of the way, and it's not going to get broken. So now we have our interior panel removed. We're going to put some protection down because we're going to drill the roof. So the packing that the light pod came in, we're going to pop that in the center of the car, up, slightly up on the screen, and then when we drill the roof, the swarf that drops down is going to land on this and not on our seats or in our carpet. So we'll good from there. So we have our interior protection down, and we're now going to clean the roof before we put the masking tape on. So just going to use glass cleaner and then brake cleaner to make sure that it's free of oils and debris. So we'll just spray that on. I'm going to use some blue roll and wipe that clean. So once we're happy our roof's clean with the glass cleaner, we're going to use brake cleaner now. Just take any further oils off. So now we're ready for marking up for our holes. So from our measurements are going to be 85mm up and 555mm from the edge of the roof rail. So there's going to end up with 2 holes in the roof. So we pop that tape measure to the edge of the roof. Take some of our 2-inch masking tape. I'm going to put that roughly so it covers 85mm, like so. And then mark from the middle of the glass 85mm either side. This is so we know our tape is on that mark and is not down the windscreen or further back. So bring your tape measure up to the roof rail. Bring this down to that height. So you've got 555mm that we're going to mark here. And then again, bring our tape measure back to the front of the roof and mark 85. So that is our first mark. Now we're going to move around to the other side of the car and do the same thing. So from the roof rail to our 85 mark, 555mm, and then again put our 85 in there and there. So these 2 are going to be our drilling points for our wiring. So we'll get the drill and then we're going to drill that now. So we're about to drill the roof now. Again, used a bit of the packing that the pod came in, just so we don't mark the roof. We're going to drill these 2 holes, 8.5mm, and then we're going to put a bit of paint on there, just stop any, it's just not going to rust, and then we'll put our grommets in. Just be aware there isn't anything on the other side of this. Obviously, as long as you're not going stupid with your drill, you'll be absolutely fine. So we're going to take this up in stages instead of just going straight for an 8.5mm. I like to start at 3.5, work up to a 7.5, and then go to an 8.5. So we'll move on to our last one, which is 8.5. So now we're ready to deburr. Now we've drilled our hole 8.5 mm. We're done with our drill and drill bits, so we can get rid of them. Then we're going to just deburr the hole to make sure there's nothing on the side of it. Because we're putting rubber grommets on here, we don't want the metal to cut through the grommet. So by deburring it, we're not going to have that issue. So get that on there, and then on the inside. There we go. And then from there, we're now going to get rid of the swarf. We're going to use a vacuum cleaner here to get rid of all that swarf, and then we're going to put a little bit of paint on there just to stop it from going rusty. So crack on with that. So now we've finished drilling the roof. As you can see, this protection has stopped all the swarf from hitting, getting in the carpets and on the seats. So we're going to remove this, get rid of the swarf, and we're going to keep that because we're going to use it again in a while. So we'll just fold that up, take that to your nearest bin and just empty off the swarf. And inside clean, we're going to put a little bit of paint on there. I mean, this is black. Doesn't matter, you're not going to see it, but it is going to protect that bare metal. So a little bit of paint around there. This is 2-pack paint, so it is just going to air dry. So do that, and then we're going to do the same on the inside as well. So we've painted inside and out. We're going to now leave that to dry while we do the wiring. By the time we've done the wiring, that'll be dry anyway. If you wanted to speed it up, you could use a heat gun, but yeah, it'll dry perfectly fine while we do the wiring. So we're going to leave that now and move on to the wiring. So as part of the kit, you have this Lazer 320 low power loom. So we're going to unpack that now. This loom, just before I start that, this loom is effectively going to start in the passenger footwell and move up to the A-pillar, go up the A-pillar and then across the roof and out, across the roof and then up and out. We still do connect it to the battery, but on the wild track, this is for the wild track only, the full beam signal wire is located in the passenger footwell. On other models it's different, so on the wild track one it's in the passenger footwell, which is why we need to start there. So we'll unpack that now. These you do get with the loom, we're not going to need them, so pop them away. So we have our relay. The purple wire is the signal wire, which is going to go to the full beam. Then we have our earth, which is the black. Our two very long ones, which go to the light. And then we have another one, the red one, which is going to go to the battery. Now, as we're starting in the passenger footwell, we need to be able to pass the loom, or this positive lead here, through the passenger footwell into the engine bay, and there is a bung there that does allow for wiring to be passed through, but as this has got a fuse holder on, it will not fit through that hole, so we are going to cut that off. We're going to keep this cable shroud around it just to keep it all neat. What we're going to do is cut this heat shrink here to allow this to slide further back, and then we'll cut about 2 inches down. Now we're not cutting through the wire, we're just cutting along the top of it. Just be careful you don't cut your fingers. Slide that down about 2 inches on the fuse holder, cut that. So now we can pop that to the side. We're not going to use that for a while. And then the same, as I said, the signal wire for the full beam is in the passenger footwell, so we're not going to need all of this extra wire which has a switch on it. So about 6 inches from the relay we can cut that off, roughly about there. Cut in there, and then we can get rid of all this. We're not going to need that either. So as we're passing this through the passenger footwell and we're going through rubber, you could use a tie wrap, but in this situation I'm going to use a like a wiring fishing rod, and all I'm going to do is hold that up to that and then tape that. This is so when I pass it through I have something to grab. So from this point now we're ready to move into the car, so we'll do that now. So we're just going to pop the bonnet. The lever for that is on the passenger side of the vehicle. So this lower panel here is a panel that we need to remove to gain us access to the wiring, which is pre-done by Ford. So we'll pull that panel up from here, fold that up. So we need to remove this trim clip, which is just there. Pop that out, lift this panel up. Right, so after we've removed our panel, we need to come into this section here. Ford have 3 wires which are located here, and there's 3 wires. That's 1, 2 and 3. Right, so these wires, this one here that says high beam is not a high beam. That is a position light, so it has been labelled wrong. So that's the green and white one. Then we have an ignition, this one is for the side lights, and this one here is the full beam one, which is grey with a brown chase. That's grey with a brown chase. It says position light on it, but that's the full beam signal wire that we want, so we're going to use that one. As we just spoke, the grey with brown chase is for the full beam, this being our signal wire on the relay. We want to strip that back, twist that over. Signal wire in here, which has already heat shrink on the end, which is done by Ford. So cut that off there, strip that one back. Them over one another. Now I'm going to use a bit of cardboard here because we're soldering inside the car. We don't want to drop anything on the carpet that's going to burn. We're going to warm that up. Just watch your exhaust and make sure it's not pointing towards any other wiring or any plastic if you use a gas soldering iron. Now, just going to put some electrical tape over that connection so it doesn't touch any metal. So we need to pierce the bung on this side of the car as well as in the engine bay to pass the positive lead through into the engine bay, so this is connect directly to the battery. So we're going to pierce that now. You'll see the bung in a moment, but it's got a circular hole up that way, which is where we're going to cut, and I'm just going to use a knife to do that. Just above this main loom there is a round hole that's already marked, and I'm going to push my blade through the middle of that and then give it a little twist. Don't worry, there's nothing on the other side of it. As long as you stay above the main loom, you'll be absolutely fine. So cut that. Now we'll go to the other side and cut that side as well. So there is a nipple on this bung here, which is above the main loom. We've already cut the other side, but you can see it there. On there, there's also a marking of how much you would cut off to pass your wire through. So we're basically going to cut the end of this nipple off, and then the wire we're going to push in from the inside of the car out this way. So we're back round at the other side of the car now. Just for a bit of lube, just use a bit of glass cleaner, spray that through. As it's rubber, it's going to grip. Put that through our hole, locate the other side, and as you have, it'll just glide through nicely. So now you can pull it from the engine bay side to pull that tight. I have the wiring through. I'm just going to pull our plastic through there. Now we're going to remove this, take this off of here, and solder on our fuse holder. So we have our wiring through. We're going to clip off a bit on the ends. Now make sure you slide your heat shrink on before you solder it. Pop that on, push it down the wire so any heat from soldering doesn't cause it to start shrinking. Twist them over. I'm just going to use this little handy wire holder while I solder. So once we're happy that there's enough heat in, we're just going to add our solder. Pull our heat shrink over. Just make sure the heat shrink is covering the solder. Then I'm going to use a heat gun, a blowtorch. You could use a heat gun, but I'm going to use a blowtorch. Put our heat shrink on, we're happy that's sealed. So just slide the conduit over there. And this keeps it looking nice. And then I'm just going to use a bit of electrical tape just around the end there to give us a nice clean install. So the wire we're just going to put behind the fuse box, but to get it behind, if you push the fuse box down here, you can put the wire in behind and down. And to bring that across, just move that. So we're following that original factory loom, and we're just going to pick up on the original fixings. So this is 10mm. Just going to remove the nut. Slip a fuse holder on. Over and make sure it's clipped in. So now that we're inside the car, there is two earths already located here, so we're going to pick up off one of them. We'll take the 8mm nut out, and then we're going to attach the relay and the earth in like that. So I'll take that 8 out. Move that. That through our relay like so, then our earth on, go back into the hole, nice and tight. So we're just going to tie wrap our wiring up so it's neat and not hanging out anywhere. You put these tie wraps just wherever you feel that that the wiring is loose. And then this is all going to be hidden again when we put our panel back over. So tie wrap there, and then we'll do the same in the engine bay. Any loose wiring, just tie wrap it up. So we're going to do the same as what we've done in there. Obviously, if there's any wiring dangling down, make sure it's secure and just tie wrap it where that you feel it can. You can get a tie wrap in really, which is going to come round here, and then I'll pick up off the factory loom, which is already there, tie wrap to that, and it's all neat and tidy. We're back inside the car now. We're going to remove this air pillar, but prior to doing that, we're going to deep in these two connectors, because we're never going to be able to pass that through the holes on the roof. Now I'm going to use this sharp pick here, and all I'm doing is lifting this red cap off the side. Pop that somewhere safe. I'm going to put it in that console there. On the connector there's numbers, number 1 and 2. Red always goes in number 2. So to deepen that, once your connector is up like this, you means put your pick in or something sharp, lift the tab up, and then slowly ease the clip, the wire out. Same again on the negative. Lift that up and pop that again somewhere safe. We're going to use the same pick again. I'm going to just come in through the edge just to lift the plastic up a little and then fold it down. Same on this one, just down the side, lift it down. We've got a 7mm on the gun now. So you've got two 7mm in here. Just back them off till they come free, because if you turn this over, there is like a paper washer on the other side to hold that onto that. Same on the other one. If it's coming loose, just push the paper washer back on. Pop that on the dash, somewhere nice and safe. So then we want to start pulling the weather seal, just a bit like that, so we can get in behind that at the top, pull that, and then we want to wiggle it, and that'll come out. Don't pull too hard because the tweeter wire is behind there, so we only want to pull it up and then to lay it down. So we're not trying to rip it and remove it. Pull it and lay it down. It just wants to lay on the dash, because our two wires that we just deep-pinned, these wires are going to come up from the bottom up and through the hole here, and then run up this A-pillar. So we need to access that to be able to get to this gap. So I'm then going to use this rod here that I do have a hook on the end. I'm going to put that down there to hook my wire. So I've hooked that wire. I'm now going to pull that up through the dash. I'm only doing this on one because the wires are tie wrapped, so I can get one through, and the other one, if I keep pulling, will come through as well till it's tight, and then we're going to come back down. So if it's pulled tight, we're going to pull back a bit because we want a bend in this wire just to curve round, so it's got a nice curve to it. Then I'm going to add one more tie wrap to that point there, and then this section is done with. We're done with here, and we're finished under the engine bay as well. So once that tie wrap's on there, we can put this panel back on and drop the bonnet, and we're done there. And then we're going to move up to passing the wire in along the roof and through the roof. So we're now going to refit this lower trim panel. I've pulled the weather strip up a little, so slide that slightly forward and lift the bonnet catch up so it passes through into the hole, and lift this little bit of plastic up, not too much, but you see how I'm using my thumb to bend it round instead of just ripping it because it will break. So we've done that. That bit will clip in there, that'll push back. Then we have our little plastic trim piece here to go back in down there like so. Clip this in. Put the weather strip back along there. Sure that's all pushed in. So we have our wiring up there. We're now going to, up here you can feel, if you put your hand up, you can feel the roof lining. So we're going to push our wiring up into that roof lining and round this corner here. Then along there. Now, these two connections here, if you put your head up here, you can see light passing through. And you're going to pull that down and then push this wiring this way, and you'll be able to see it coming through. So just do one at a time. Number 2. Now up here there's a piece of plastic, and we want to put the wiring over that plastic and then down. So over the plastic. And now this wiring, if you bring them to level, and the length that we want is if you pass this, once it's over this plastic, pass it over the mirror and then to the front panel. So this front panel here we could use as like a ruler. So pull that other one a bit more. And then I want to get it so these ends here are to the end of that piece of plastic, and that will give us enough length when we go on the roof to pass both ways. So I'm happy with that there. So the rest of this can now pull back through. Bit of a shuffle, just have a remeasure there, and now I'm happy that that wiring is along the top of there. So after that, I'm going to tie wrap that up here, then we'll fold it down there, put another tie wrap there, and another one there. There's no airbags here, the airbag is up here. Now we're good to refit the panel. So there's tabs on the end here which have 2 slotted holes down there. They want to go in first. And then push a little bit forward, and then there's a tab up here. Pop the weather strip back in, and then we'll get the gun and we'll put the hull back on, and then this part is done. So we've got our 7mm on the gun. This has a location tab which you can see is at the top. On the other one it is different. So if I look at the back of that, that was fairly round. This one is round with a tab. So make sure the tab one goes at the top. Get it started a little before you tighten them. Clips on, leather strips nice and tight, all the way down, and we're good from there. So the 2 bungs that are in our kit, these are going to go through our holes. Our paint's had plenty of time to dry now. So if you pop these in at an angle, and then just push them through, this is going to stop the wiring chafing on the edges of the roof and cutting it. So also it's going to help stop any water ingress after we've sealed it. So now I'm going to push our wiring, one through one side, one through the other. So you'll get like a little bit of make sure you've got both of the connections through. And once you've got them through, pull it. Just want to make sure that none of our wires are caught up in the other wires that we've just pulled up. So from there now, I'm going to fill these up with some sticker flex to basically make that that waterproof. So we're going to put some sealant down the hole, around here, and a little bit on the inside as well. Before we put the sealant in the roof, we're going to put that protection down again that we had when we were drilling the roof. So there's no swarf left on this. the same as we did before. In the car and slightly up from the screen. So there's a small gap. When you move the wiring, you can see a small gap. We're going to fill them gaps up. So if you push your nozzle down, this is a sticker flex which is provided in the kit. So we do recommend using this to try and keep it as watertight as possible. Do the same again at the front. Just happy with that. I'll work that in a bit. Make sure it's nicely down the hole. And then I'm going to build a mound now. And we're going to go inside the car and do very similar to the wiring on the other side. This is an extra layer of protection for stopping water. So if you just pop your gun up there, go around the wiring. So with our glass cleaner, I'm just going to spray that onto there, and then with your gloves, you just spray that as well as your hand. Just shake this to make sure the sealant is in right the way around the wiring and is in those holes. Doesn't have to look pretty, you're not going to see it. It just needs to be watertight. I'll do the same on the inside. I'm going to spray my glove again, and then I'm going to put a little bit of water up here. Just a little bit, doesn't have to be a lot. It's going to drip onto your mat. You're just going to go around the wiring. You'll feel it, you'll feel the wiring going through the bung. And we're just shaping that and pushing the sticker flex around the wiring just to make a very strong seal. So we're happy with that. Now I'm going to remove my gloves so we've got sealant on them, and then I'm going to put the connectors back on. Red into number 2, push that, you'll hear it click. I heard 2 clicks. That there, and then I'm just going to use a little bit of tape just to hold this whilst I put that panel back on the inside, and a little bit there. And then if you see any more gaps after you've done that, just push the sealant to those gaps. So we finished our sealing now, nothing's dropped through. We're ready to remove this out of the way. And now we're going to get back in the car and we're going to fit our roof trim panel back again. So we're going to connect the speaker for the phone, that's clipped in. Then the 2 tabs at the back, they want to rest on top of here. Pop them on there. So our SOS button and our interior lights. Then we lift that up a little bit and we're going to clip this in. It goes on that angle and then clips in there. Fold that up. And then that's all fixed. Make sure this turns down. Yeah, we're good there, and then we'll go on top of the roof again. So now we're going to mark up for the position of the pod, which is 50mm back from the edge of the roof, and it's usually about 10mm from the roof rail, usually about the width of your small finger. So edge of the roof to 50, and then this is going to mark where the pod comes up to. This is to also get your beam right. It's not pointing at the sky and it's not pointing at the floor. So it is very important that you do get this right. Don't go sticking the pod to the edge of the roof because it's not intended to do that. So 50mm from the edge of the roof to here, and when we put our pod on, it's going to come up to this edge, as well as having about a 10mm gap either side. Again, it's about the thickness of your small finger when you look at it down there. So we're good to start bonding our pod, and we'll get that on the car. So we're going to now bond, or put the bond on the pod, but we're going to leave a gap here, so any water that does get into the pod, it does have a way to get out. So if you look at this V here, I would usually start from about there and finish there, going right the way around the pod, and generally keep to the inside edge. So if we go to the outside edge, when we push it on the roof, when we put it on the roof and then we push down, you're going to get loads of sealant coming outwards. So stay to the inside and you'll save yourself from that. So we'll start from this point here. And we're just going to use the rest of the tube that's left to do this. We'll go back. That should be more than enough to get the pod bonded on. You see we've got a nice gap here for any water. So just before that, I'm going to use a bit of foam on the roof to lay the pod on the roof. Then we'll connect the wires and get some assistance to lift the pod onto the roof to flip it over. So first we'll pop this onto the roof. So pop that on the roof, and this is we're going to lay the pod upside down on this foam. So bring the pod over, lay it on there. I'm going to lift that connection out, clip that in, same on the other one. Make sure when it's clipped in, that is fully engaged. Pop that in there, lift that bit of tape off. So we're ready now to lift that into position. So I'm going to if you get a friend or whoever, just somebody to give you a hand, because we're going to lift this up and then lay it down. So we're going up in this motion and then down. We need to be careful of the wires to make sure that they're not sitting underneath this, because that'll stop us from positioning it flat against the roof. So literally just before we put the pod on, we just want to make sure that all 4 lights are actually working. So I'm going to get my assistant here to come in and put the ignition on and press the full beam, and we should see all 4 lights working. So we can see that all 4 are actually on. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're good to stick. So we're ready to fit the pod on now that we're happy with it. We're going to lift that up and rotate it into position. So lift that over, and then we just want to watch the wires, make sure they're not sliding in anywhere. I'm happy at my side. Are you happy at your side? Yeah. Yep. And then we're just going to push the pod down into position. We're happy with that. We can remove our foam, and then we're going to take this into position. This needs to be left for 24 hours to dry, fully dry. So make a star. And then one along the back. Now, if there is any sealant coming out, like I've got a little bit here, you want to get some brake cleaner and just wipe that off with a microfiber or some tissue. It's going to make it a lot easier now to remove it now than later. So just spray a bit of brake cleaner there. So just before we finish, this light pod does need to be left for 24 hours before the vehicle is driven. So that completes the install of the roof pod and a 2023 Ranger Wildtrak. These are fitted with Lazer 6-inch linear elites with an output of 4,000 lumens per light. It's giving us a grand total of 16,000 lumens just on your roof. So that will brighten any road. Thank you very much for watching. See you later.